All right, welcome to this episode of the Exertis Broadcast podcast, where we talk over all the cool technology bits and bobs that kind of come at us on a day-to-day basis. Now, today's episode, I wanted to wax philosophically about some of the things we're seeing in robotic cameras, but rather than me chat away about the things I read online, I figured why not bring on somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. So I'm really excited to introduce Edgar Shane from JVC, who's going to talk to us about some of the changes we see in the robotic camera market with AI and auto tracking and REMI production. So with that, Edgar, say hello to the audience and welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you, and hello, everybody.
All right, so first off, Edgar, give us a little history. Who are you? What do you do for JVC? Tell us all about it.
What do I do at JVC? This is a good question. Well, I'm the general manager of engineering for JVC Professional Video, and I've been doing it for, believe me or not, almost 24 years. And I am involved with all new products, professional cameras, specifically development and introduction. And I work very closely with our factories and R&D in Japan. So it's a very interesting job, actually, to be able to contribute to new products and to be involved in all products design and sales support as well.
No, I mean, your role's a lot like mine. We're going between the people who are developing it and the people who are using it, and kind of connecting the dots to help everybody understand, how people want it to work. I mean, and oftentimes we see that most people who are designing products design it in a bubble without ever connecting with the users that are going to be the ones using their products.
Yeah, it's actually very good opportunity to talk to people and to relay all new ideas directly to where it's all designed with our factories in Japan. So yes.
All right. No, I mean, this is perfect because the reason I wanted you on the show and specifically JVC was the two subjects that are sort of near and dear to my heart are AI and REMI. I mean, these are two phenomenal, sort of components of the broadcast and technology world. And AI, we've seen the usage of artificial intelligence in the broadcast industry, most specifically up till this point in post-production with image recognition and content recognition. But now we're starting to see that creep into robotic cameras and more specifically, PTZ cameras. So I'd love to kind of talk about JVC's role in that as one of the companies utilizing AI in their robotic cameras or their, with auto tracking, so to speak. And then the other side of that is REMI production and kind of what is going on in REMI production these days. Now, REMI's not new. It's been around for a while. And for those of you keeping score at home, REMI is remote interview. So the ability to sort of do what we're doing right now, interviewing somebody in a different location, but using these broadcast technologies to get higher quality and better content overall. And so that's sort of a couple of things I want us to chat on today and have a discussion around.
Well, remote production is not new for JVC at all. We've been serving our broadcast customers with cameras which are capable of sending high quality video over the internet for years. And we introduced many products almost 10 years ago, which were able to send video over the internet. But before those unfortunate events of pandemic, obviously, I always advocated sending video over the internet, but some people needed to do it. And some people said, I don't need it. I don't care about this. And all of a sudden, everybody wants it. And all of a sudden, it spiked tremendously in this activity. And everybody needs to be able to send high quality video feeds over the internet. And that's where actually business is growing. We're very happy about it. And we introduced the whole lineup, as a matter of fact, of cameras, which are labeled connected cam. And these cameras have everything which you would need to send high quality video over the internet integrated in the camera. So you don't need any external boxes or any additional encoders, decoders. It's all in the camera. You simply connect camera to the internet, push the button, or maybe it happens automatically, and high quality 1080 60p or 4K up to 60p video can be sent directly from New York to Los Angeles via standard internet connection. So this is REMI. And obviously there's a lot of interest in REMI. And there are also many aspects of REMI. So it's not just sending high quality video, but also being able to control this equipment remotely, especially PTZ cameras, being able to sometimes receive return video, monitor your audio, and many other things.
No, I mean the first connected cam that wasn't like last week. I mean those go back a ways. I think. I mean, as far as I can remember, like the first real JVC connected cam was more than 5 years ago, wasn't it?
First connected cam, as a matter of fact, was called Streamcorder, and it goes all the way down to 2002. We designed and introduced the camera with the streaming capability at that time, but obviously infrastructure was not ready. So the existing lineup of connected cam, of course, comes to the market where you have high-speed connection over fiber, over 4G LTE, 5G LTE, as a matter of fact. So now this concept is fully functional and is being used every day by many customers.
I mean, to give the audience a little perspective here, I mean, prior to this, the only choice you had for, remote interview was to roll a satellite truck. I mean, you'd bring in this huge truck, you'd spend, hours getting the satellite up into the air and set up and pointed in the right direction or at a very specific mountain to hit a receiving antenna. And that was a goal. And that's expensive. I mean, let's face it, nobody can afford that except for the TV stations that owned and rented the trucks. So, I mean, that was our past, but now it's sort of everybody has a hotspot in their pocket that can connect one of your cameras to the internet and they're broadcasting.
Absolutely, yeah. The presence of high-speed 4G and 5G LTE opens so many opportunities for production because now you can go live pretty much from anywhere as long as you have camera, of course, with the ability to send SRT, specifically secure reliable transport streams through the internet.
Now, I want to come back to the SRT thing for a minute because that's really important. So, for anybody who doesn't understand, what does SRT mean? What's the breakdown here?
Well, SRT abbreviation stands for Secure Reliable Transport. And even before we talk about security, we need to talk about reliability because internet is great. It's available everywhere, but you can imagine that internet, we call it the public media, so everybody's using internet, and anytime there's no guarantee of upload speed, of not having packet loss or data loss, because it's uh, hundreds of millions of people use it at the same time. That's why, in order to successfully deliver high quality video over the internet, you need to be using specific protocols which are designed for that. And secure reliable transport was specifically designed to deal with this uncontrolled environment where it has a tremendous amount of error correction built in, so it compensates for intermittent loss of connection, variations of upload speed, jitter, latency, many other things, and it's capable of delivering high quality, like I said, 1080 60p or 4K 60p streams from anywhere to anywhere without any image degradation or any dropouts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but fundamentally, there are other products out there that are designed to do the same thing, right? But those tend to cost more money and not be really the right product for the average consumer. I mean, these are typically like the cellular backpacks or the bonded cellular solutions, which for somebody who lives in a world that doesn't have a data connection, cellular is important. But for me to you and you to me, we have our network sort of aligned. We have a network. I don't need cellular. And so those products become prohibitive, cost prohibitive and not really great for the general purpose market.
Yeah, I can't agree more. It's always you always need to use right tools to do the job, and most people don't realize the amount of data loss on even on high-speed internet. The fact that you're paying for fiber connection doesn't protect you from having data loss, and everybody can see that sometimes some pages are loading a little slow. And that's the first indication of packet loss, which is not a big deal for the web page because you can see it eventually. But for live video, this would be fatal. You would have dropouts, you will have terrible distortion and other effects. That's why it's very important to use specific protocols which were designed to compensate for errors and for data loss, and secure reliable transport is excellent protocol, which is capable, by the way, to compensate for up to almost 50% of data loss. Think about it. Half of your data is lost, and SRT protocol still delivers glitch-free, perfect video at 1080, 60p, or 4K. That's pretty amazing.
I mean, those products are great, but I mean, like we said, our networks are fine. I've got a good network. You've got a good network. We don't need the cellular, but we still need something to protect against packet loss, right? We still need that way to make sure the video ends up over to you the way I sent it. And I mean, for anybody who's trying to figure out what packet loss means in this instance, is some of the data gets lost or corrupted along the way. Like, you don't hear my audio, or half of Edgar's face goes away. And well, I mean, let's face it, this isn't a horror show. It's a tech podcast. So we don't want that to happen. But we still need that type of technology, right? And so, I mean, this is good. SRT is necessary. And so much so that you've built it into most of the JVC products, right? I mean, it's available through JVC solutions now.
Yes, every camera which is part of our connected cam family features integrated SRT encoder with the ability to set different bit rates, different frame rates, different formats, including H.264 and HEVC codecs. And I always advocate HEVC, high efficiency codec, because it allows delivering very high quality video at much reduced bit rates versus H.264. And some of our cameras are even equipped with the SRT decoders. So these products can receive actually return video from the studio. So for confidence or for framing assist for the cameraman. Unlike Teams and Zoom, SRT Stream always maintains constant frame rate and constant resolution, which means that if you set your camera to, let's say, 1080 60p, that's what you will be getting on the receiving side on your NewTek TriCaster or vMix video switcher, and you can be receiving the stream 24/7 with no subscription fees or no extra cost, using just like you said, a fixed internet connection on both sides. This is very significant for telepresence and for many other applications.
All right, I want to pivot off that conversation and move over to AI. Right now, AI, this is near and dear to my heart. I've been watching AI for some time now, and kind of where it fits into the broadcast and production world. And, we've been watching for some time sort of AI fit into the post-production world, right? We're taking footage and we're able to use image recognition to find every time the Coca-Cola logo shows up in the footage, right? You feed it into the machine scours the video, and it comes back with every, bullet points on every shot that has the Coca-Cola logo. And then we saw it sort of pivot into sports teams, where it's like, hey, show me every shot of a specific player. And because, you can't see their faces, you can definitely see their jersey and do image recognition of their name or their number on their jersey. And then the computer model or the AI model is able to spit back every shot with that player in it, right? But all of this is sort of post-production. It's all about taking video clips that we already have and giving you data about them. But as the AI models are getting better and as processors are getting better, we're now starting to see sort of these AI models or these algorithms come into hardware, like into camera encoders and into, not say camera encoders, but into encoders and into the cameras themselves. So how is JVC putting these models or these AI engines into their products now? What are they doing with it?
The elements of AI, and specifically face recognition, if you think about it, were often included in many cameras even before this, because autofocus and skin tone detection were always based on the face detection, and that's the way it works in our broadcast cameras. But obviously, PTZ cameras can actually move. They can pan and tilt naturally. That's why all of a sudden everybody realized that you can use the same ability to detect human beings in a field of view for tracking. So now cameras can actually detect people, and when you select specific person, camera can track the person. As a matter of fact, within almost 360 degrees, because cameras rotate 170 degrees each side. So camera can now track that person which was selected literally throughout the room whenever that person goes. And this new function was added to our brand new KY PZ510 4K 60p PTZ camera.
I mean, 4K, that's beautiful, but why? Who's asking for this? Who wants this really?
Well, you can think of PTZ cameras are being used more and more. And what I like about PTZ cameras, I like two things. First of all, of course, the fact that I can control them remotely. And that means that PTZ cameras add almost a new dimension to REMI. Not only I can receive 1080 60p or 4K 60p stream remotely, I can also control the camera remotely. And that is pretty amazing. But when you are local, camera can now do what would require a human being to do, to follow objects and to do it. Actually, cameras do it in pretty nice manner. They're very smooth and they're very precise. And otherwise, you would need to have somebody using a joystick on remote control to do the same work. So there are many things you can do with the object tracking.
Okay, so that's the important part, because once again, robots replacing humans and taking away work. But I mean, let's just step back and look at like the world of education for a minute, right? I mean, ever since we decided to hide in our homes during the pandemic, we've sort of had this online education piece, and now you've got schools with 30 or 40 classrooms where teachers are teaching remotely, but you can't put a camera operator or a student operator managing a camera, following the teacher back and forth as they move from, podium to whiteboard and back again, right? But you've got to follow them. The teacher can't stand still and teach. So you need some way to manage this process of allowing the teacher to teach, but still giving the audience the content. And so this is where these tracking cameras, AR tracking cameras, have sort of solved one of the issues in education. And I'm sure that goes well beyond education as well, but it gives us the ability to create content and to allow these people to continue to stream and put content out there without having to have an operator on top of them.
Well, absolutely, and it not necessarily it replaces human beings. It just makes it easier and it makes it better. If you think of classroom, you can probably live without motion tracking. You can just show the full view of a classroom all the time, but it looks much better when person is being tracked around the room, because not only camera pans and tilts to track human being, it also zooms in and out to maintain certain ratio of the shot, which means that when you broadcast that lecture of that class, the image will always have a nice close-up. You will be able to see the teacher, the professor. It makes it much better. So it's not only it replaces or not replaces human operator, it also makes it look very good, which means it improves the value of your remote production.
And fundamentally, I mean, this means that every classroom can be a broadcast classroom, right? Because I don't have to put a human in there to manage the camera. The AI can see the teacher, recognize the teacher apart from the wall, and that room is broadcasting.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
And this is, I think, fundamentally sort of changing, if not lower ed, maybe higher education for sure. And then we got to think about, well, where else does this apply? Where else is this going to change? Is this the boardroom? Is this the next TED Talk? I mean, how many things become crewless, so to speak, or how many things can we do without needing a massive crew because of this AI technology being able to manage at least the camera side of it? So it certainly will change, some of these broadcast elements pretty massively.
You're absolutely correct. Artificial intelligence, AI, there are many applications for this, and ability of camera to make decisions based on image and image analysis. This is AI. And while today it's used for object tracking, tomorrow there are many other applications which will, as we go, as equipment progresses and processors become more powerful, AI will obviously do many other things in addition to just object tracking.
So much human emotion comes through our faces, right? And that's how we gain context and all that. And if we're just this little tiny postage stamp in the corner of the screen, and especially if we're, again, coming back to these devices and we're watching this on these little tiny screens, then we're not going to capture that human emotion, and we're going to lose connection. We're going to lose connection with the people we're talking to. So if AI can solve that by allowing us to have close-ups and allowing us to, stay in tight with the subject to maintain that connection, that remote, eye contact, so to speak, then that's great. And remember, when I say AI, I mean, auto tracking cameras and auto tracking capabilities. And, I mean, and again, under the hood, it's an AI algorithm that's doing this with the auto tracking camera. But those have gotten to the point where it's like, I see human, follow human, and, my robot brain sort of does that. So, but again, that's important, because if we don't have that connection, we sort of lost the value in doing this all remote. And if AI can bring that around, then that becomes the value of it in this moment. Let's talk a little bit about JVC. So you're traditionally a broadcast company, and people wouldn't think of you as a robotics company, but obviously you're making a pretty strong pivot here to produce robotic cameras for both the broadcast and the non-broadcast industries. So why this pivot? Why the move into robotic cameras?
Well, you are correct. JVC, first of all, we've been in professional video camera business. Of course, there's also JVC consumer, but I represent JVC professional division. We've been making cameras for perhaps last, I'd say, 40 years. And we always produce those large cameras for studio applications, smaller cameras for news. But like I said, in the several few years, we definitely recognized the request to be able to do things remotely. And even with our cameras, which are not PTZ cameras, very often customers said to me in the past, they said, oh, I can send video remotely, I can control camera remotely, meaning iris exposure and everything else. I wish I could control PTZ remotely. And that was several years ago. So this was a very natural progression for JVC to add the whole lineup of PTZ cameras to our broadcast and professional cameras range.
Yeah, but the timing was sort of perfect. I mean, the world suddenly needed a lot more cameras, and robotic cameras became even more impressive during that time. So it was good timing.
That's right.
So the 510, the auto tracking camera, that one hasn't shipped yet, but it is coming out soon.
Yes, the new KYPZ 510. By the time this podcast is released, it's probably already shipping, because cameras are already in JVC warehouse. And this is a latest PTZ camera, which adds to our connected cam lineup. So not only this camera supports SRT and NDI and RTMP, RTMPS, but starting from the camera portion, first of all, the camera features the very wide 80-degree lens, which allows not only to cover, of course, smaller spaces, but also it gives you very nice wide-angle view at the larger audiences, like large houses of worship or large sports arenas. And also auto tracking, yes, the ability to automatically track selected people throughout 360-degree around the room. That's another function of this camera.
So let me ask this. So I noticed there's an audio jack on the camera. Is that an input or an output?
Oh, audio, there's the line input, and this is a matter of fact what we're using right now for this podcast. I have my microphone in my studio connected to my small audio mixer, and then output is connected directly to line input on that camera. And that's where audio is interleaved with video, and then SRT stream is being sent to your studio right now.
So that's a good conversation piece right there. So, I mean, traditionally, if we're going to do this interview and I want to interview Edgar, I'd send you the camera I want you to use, but then we'd have to deal with the audio issues, and then I'd send you a microphone and a soundboard to connect it, and then I've got to send an encoder as well to bring it all together and publish it onto the internet. But what you're laying out for me is that I send you the camera, I plug the microphone into the camera and the camera into the internet, and we're live streaming or remotely interviewing Edgar with just a camera, and then add auto tracking into this, and you could get up and present something across. No, I'm not asking you to do it right now, but you could get up and present something across the room, and the camera would follow you. And again, all from a camera, not having to send all that extra gear along with.
You're 100% correct. It can be more simple than this. What I have right now in front of me, I have KYPZ 510 camera on a tripod. And also I just have a small mixer because camera expects line level input. I could have used just a small preamp if I was using just a lavalier microphone. It's connected to the camera. And then camera RJ45 network connector is literally just plugged into my home router. Nothing else is needed. The IP address of your studio are just inputted into the camera, and camera immediately starts pushing secure, reliable transport SRT stream right to your studio, directly to your TriCaster, where you receive it as an input. And this is set to 1080 60p right now, and we can also change resolution right now to 4K, 30p, or 60p. This is how simple it is, and you are correct. Many customers don't realize that it's actually that simple.
No, that's amazing. I mean, that really changes the face of REMI production when I don't have to ship a whole bunch of gear. And of course, this puts us in the hands of a lot more people in doing so, when all I got to do is ship a camera. Hey, listen, great having you on the show today. Really appreciate you being here and giving us sort of a snapshot of the past, the present, and the future of JVC. So where can people find out more about JVC and connect with you?
Well, first of all, pro.jvc.com is our US-based website. You go there, you see all the cameras, including broadcast cameras, news cameras, and the whole lineup of PTZ cameras. You can always reach out to me directly. We will show you my email address at the end of this podcast. Otherwise, of course, you go to your dealers, to your distributor to purchase JVC cameras.
Perfect. All right. Well, listen, Edgar, thanks again for being here and sort of giving your perspective and JVC's perspective on SRT and AI and REMI production. I want to thank everybody for watching the show, and this has been another episode of the Exertis Broadcast podcast.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.